Let's take a look at the Harrowstorm official patch notes. As a quick summary in terms of performance, instant zones seem to have way higher FPS than before. So like in dungeons, I almost have like twice as much FPS sometimes. It's kind of crazy. However, towns, overland, or like Cyrodiil, it's about the same. Not a lot changed. If you have like a lower specs PC, you also should see a FPS increase. But if you already have a high-end PC, you're probably not going to see much in like Overland or Cyrodiil. A lot of change. And if you have worse FPS, it might be your add-ons. Add-ons usually cause a lot of issues because they're not updated for the current patch. And they can cause big FPS drops and stuff like that. So if you have problems, turn off add-ons and see if anything changed. Let's look at the patch notes. Welcome to the Elder Scrolls Online. Version 5.3.4 and the start of the Dark Heart of Skyrim with the Harrowstorm DLC game pack. This is the first DLC for the year-long story. Harrowstorm has 2 new 4-player dungeons, Icereach and Unhallowed Grave. And I actually really like the dungeons. They did a really good job there, must say. Go check it out if you have time. In addition to a number of new item sets and collectibles, our biggest focus for this update was further improving game performance with an emphasis on frame rate stability, ultimately resulting in fewer drops in your game's frame rate. The combat changes you will see supporting this goal, which you can read more about in this forum post. Another thing I want to mention, I have heard a lot of people talk about latency in Cyrodiil. They haven't done any optimization on like ping issues, and they're probably not really going to because they would have to change the whole server structure, and that's just not going to happen. I don't see them actually being able to change that. The performance changes or improvements were mostly to FPS and like loading time, stuff like that. Additionally, please take note for this update, we are refreshing our patching and file manifest data to remove duplicate files, and all the data is no longer needed. Yeah, so basically the file size is smaller now. You have to re-download the whole game. It will download the new game first and then delete the old one, so don't forget that. You need enough space. You will get the Crimson Torchbug pet for free in the first 2 weeks, I think. So it's a pretty cool one, so yeah, try to download it as soon as possible. Get going. It's a little bit annoying, but overall, it seems to really have helped in terms of FPS. At least in instance zones. Finally, starting tomorrow on February 25th, you will be able to select Russian in the ESO launcher settings. Doing this will change the ESO launcher language to Russian. This only changes the language for the launcher, not the game. Okay. This launcher update is in preparation for ESO supporting Russian language text later this year. Okay. Interesting. But it's a nice addition, I like it. Another thing I want to mention, the new sets, like I will put the link to the patch notes in the description. If you want to check out the new sets or updated skills, builds, it's all on the website. I will put all the links into the description. Okay, we get two new dungeons, Icereach and Unhallowed Grave. Unhallowed Grave has like a new feature where you have to unlock a secret too. It's like optional, but pretty cool. I like it. I hope they do more of that. So yeah, like always, there's like new titles, skins, and so on that you can get. No, you can't get a skin. It's body markings. Yeah, okay. New item sets. So we talked about these before already, but let's go over them real quick. Hittis Hearth. This is a light armor. When you heal yourself or an ally with an ability, gain a warming aura for 10 seconds. While in the warming aura, you and group members restore 1k health every 1 second and reduce the cost of sprint, block, and roll dodge. I guess I don't really see how this will be used, but whatever. Now this here is a juicy one. Penetration, weapon damage, max stamina, and then Jesus Christ. Adds 110 weapon damage and 1240 physical penetration. This bonus doubles to 220 and 2480 when you're under 75% health. This bonus quadruples to 440 weapon damage and 5k penetration when you're under 50% health. That's kind of crazy. That's a lot of damage. This is... So when I tested it on PTS, I haven't tested it on a live server, but on a stem blade, what you could do, or on any character, you could use, like when you're in stealth, you could use spell sim to lower your health below 50 and then actually get the benefits of the 440 weapon damage and 500 physical penetration. So you could open with like, it's a pretty good gank set. Other than that, I think people overestimate the amount of times you're below 50% health, because most people tend to overheal, both in PvE and PvP. So yeah, might be a little bit tricky to use, but it's definitely a very powerful set. So this one, it drops in Ice Reach. Don't throw it away, keep it. And it's not only these two bonus here, it's also that it has like stamina, weapon damage, and more penetration. It's just packed with damage, it's crazy. Bonnie's Torment. This is the heavy armor one. When you taunt a nearby enemy, you tether to them for 5 seconds. While tethered, you apply Major Maim to your enemy, reducing their damage done by 30%, and you gain Major Vitality, increasing your healing taken by 30%. The tether is broken if the enemy moves 8 meters away from you. Yeah, the main issue here is the long cooldown, kinda wrecks. I really hate long cooldowns. It's just dumb. I would rather have like a weaker effect, but no cooldown at all. I don't know, whatever. Mother Chianite. So this is a Magicka monster mask. While in combat, casting an ability with a cast time or channeling an ability grants you a damage shield that absorbs 5000 damage for 6 seconds. As a 6 seconds cooldown. This set also restores 600 magic if the shield is broken. So Iceheart kinda got wrecked because of this set a little bit. Or at least I think it's not the only reason, but partially. So you get 5k damage shield on a cast time or channeling ability. So like Biting Chaps or probably even Wrecking Blow, Dizzying Swing will work to proc it. It's not a bad set per se. You also get 600 magic back, but yeah, I don't know. Would have to try further, but 5k is just not that much. But at least it's only a 6 second cooldown and you get a little bit. So it's definitely not bad, but there is also... Most classes don't have a lot of cast time or channeling abilities that they use constantly to proc it every 6 seconds. So that's why I think Iceheart will still be the way better option. Unhallowed Grave, so this is in the other dungeon, light armor set. When dealing direct damage to an enemy, you will curse them, causing them to take 617 extra damage from all your damage abilities. This effect can occur once every 9 seconds. Yeah, this, I don't know. When dealing direct damage, you will curse them, causing them to take... Yeah, it's not bad, but... I'm not sure how much, like if this, when you deal direct, from all your damage abilities, so it's 617 extra damage on each of your dots and stuff, so on, could be decent, but it's hard to tell, would have to test. Aegis Caller, when you deal critical damage with a melee ability, summon a lesser Aegis for 11 seconds. After 2.5 seconds, the lesser Aegis spins its blades, dealing 3700 bleed damage every 1 second. There's a 12-second cooldown. This is a pretty good AoE set. The damage is not overpowered, but still good. So if you farm this, or like if you get this set, don't throw it away. It's definitely pretty nice. And it also has a pretty cool animation overall. Grave Guardian. Summon a stone aura while blocking, hardening you and your nearby group members, increasing your physical and spell resistance by 4430. So this is a unique buff. So 4,430 spell and physical resistance that stack on top of other things. In organized groups, that could be pretty good. You have to perma block to keep it activated, and I'm not sure. The size was pretty big if I recall correctly. So yeah, this might be nice if you play in a group. But yeah, maybe there's other sets that are worth it more. But yeah, it's a unique buff, so you can stack it. That's always nice. Kjalnar's Nightmare. It's another Magicka monster set, so we get spell damage. Dealing damage with a light attack puts a bone stack on your enemy for 5 seconds. You can only apply 1 stack every 1 second. At 5 stacks, an undodgeable skeletal hand attacks your enemy after 1 second, knocking them into the air and stunning them for 3 seconds, or dealing 15k magic damage if they cannot be stunned. An enemy that has reached 5 stacks cannot gain bone stacks for 3 seconds. So, when I tested this on the PTS, it took me like 7 or 8 seconds to get up to 5 stacks. Because it has a 1 second cooldown. And sometimes the light attacks go out a little bit faster and then it doesn't count because it's still on that 1 second cooldown. But like, that's a huge tooltip. And with the right buffs and so on, champion points allocation, you can get this to 20k easily, probably. So this could hit really hard. But yeah, you might... Takes time to get used to. But yeah, this one is nice. Cyrodiil crafting. So there's also new craftable sets. Critical riposte. So we get crit resistance. Crit resistance. I think it's the first set that actually has crit resistance on it. Yeah, pretty sure. When you take critical damage, you apply minor uncertainty. Jesus, I can't even pronounce it. Minor enervation to the enemy for 9 seconds, reducing their physical and spell critical by 1,300. That's a lot. 1,000, the 10, 12% or so? Oh, 10%, yeah, okay. An enemy can only be affected by a critical riposte once every 10 seconds. Yeah. So that's quite a strong debuff, I would say. Depending on how much crit you have, obviously. I'm surprised they didn't put that into one buff category. Whatever, anyway. Unchained Aggressor. Located in Bruma. On eso-sets.com, like, if you don't know where it is, we have maps and all that stuff there, so it's all listed up. After breaking free, gain Major Berserk for 6 seconds, increasing your damage on by 25%. This effect can occur once every 16 seconds. A pretty long cooldown, but Major Berserk is very strong. Now the thing is, you kinda break free as fast as possible usually, so it might be a little bit hard to time. So I'm not sure if it's really worth it. There's probably better options. Like, it would require a lot of effort to get the timing right in this 6 seconds window. Dauntless Combatant. Props for it. When you are affected by a disabling effect, you automatically break free for no cost. After using this effect, you become winded and cannot retrigger this effect for 21 seconds. You automatically break free for no cost. Interesting, but it has a really long cooldown, so it's like... in 2 years, we're gonna have sets with 2-minute cooldowns. This keeps going on, but yeah, I don't really see how this is good. New collectibles, like always, there's a few really cool stuff. I wish there would be a skin in the new dungeon. There is not. So many skins have been in the Crown Store lately and none in new dungeons. Kinda sucks. New achievements too. New furnishings. Performance improvements. So they did a few performance things that I talked about previously. I'll go over these again. New PvP campaigns. So they redid the names. I'm not sure why they keep changing. Confusing. People never know, but at least you can pronounce these. And there was a little bit confusion. I also thought, oh, they're going to put the non-alliance locked on top. But in reality, at least on the PC client, the alliance locked is on top. Because it's like alphabetical order or whatever. So they put this one first, and then I think this, and Blackridge is the third. A lot of people were disappointed because they thought the non-alliance locked would be on top. Yeah, and it doesn't look like, I think Sauce made a post. They talked about that it is intended that the alliance locked is on top. New collectibles, pretty grindy. Knight's Resolve can be combined with 20 arena gladiator proofs to generate a random style page. Here 40, so yeah, that's hella grindy. Master Writ furnishings. Okay, there's new stuff. Okay. Some changes. Oh yeah, I think, what was it, Hall Stage? Okay, let's check out the Necromancer first. Necromancer, the blast bones work a lot better now, and the tethering is also improved. I was actually surprised. Better. Due to many technical issues with the Necromancer's engagement with corpses and targeting of corpses, the following changes have been made in hopes to alleviate some of these shortcomings. Blast bones and its morphs corpses will now last 6 seconds rather than 5 seconds. Skeletal Mage and Spirit Mender 10 seconds instead of 5. Improve the targeting areas from all tether abilities and will now link to the corpse closest to your reticle from a much larger radius. Yeah. The goal of these changes is to help reduce situations where tether abilities do not grab a corpse in high combat load, as well as making it easier for Necromancers to feel in control of the amount of corpses on the field. Yeah. I mean, when I'm in Sunspire and you're fighting the dragon, it's impossible to get that shitty tether off. It's so annoying too. So we will see. I haven't been in Sunspire yet. I think corpses in high combat load, I think it's tied to the hitbox issues. So I'm not sure, but yeah, we will see. In the dungeons, it felt a lot more responsive, the blast bones too. The skeleton from this ability and its morphs will now attempt to leap from up to 28 meters after a short delay of spawning, rather than 15 meters. Fixed an issue where the skeleton would appear to jump backwards when leaping in close ranges. The skeleton will now also properly attempt to face its target while leaping rather than moonwalk jumping. Interesting. Increase the speed in which the skeleton jumps. Yeah, so overall a buff to the previously very buggy blast bones. I mean, it's kind of a fix, but also a buff. Yeah, okay, anyway. Boneyard reduced the cost of this ability and its morphs to 3,780. Oh yeah, so overall, your sustain will be better this patch. Most of the AoE abilities from all classes got the cost reduced again, because it was just way too high. So I think they put it back to where it was or something close to it. So will be a nice sustain boost. Okay, Bitter Harvest fixed. Yeah. And there was a lot of fixes too. Like it seems like they were really focusing on fixing abilities instead of just randomly changing shit again. Which is good. Let's keep going. White gold. Okay. They nerfed Halls of Fabrication quite a bit. In reviewing Halls of Fabrication, we evaluated the trial based on a number of factors: rate of completion, age of content, player feedback, sentiment, etc., and felt adjustments were needed. The changes below will result in the extreme difficulty spikes being toned down a bit, making it more accessible for players. So Sauce can pretty much see like where most players get stuck. It's like, okay, first boss is a huge problem, and like most groups just stop there, or like have the most deaths there, and they can make adjustments. They actually see that in their analytics. And it looks like there was just not enough people that managed to complete it. Halls is pretty difficult if you're not an organized group or like a newer group. Pretty tough. The draining shock ability no longer drains magic of those affected by the damage over time. Okay. Hunter Killer reduced the health of Fabricator Spheres, Hunter Killer, Negatrix, and Positrox on Veteran. Okay. The first boss is super weird. It used to be fine on the PTS when it first initially launched, but then we came up with stack and burn tactics, so they tried to make it so you can't stack them, but then like the enrage phase was fucking OP, and it's a huge mess. Reduce the damage from the charge, gore, and static cascade abilities. The static cascade ability no longer stuns those affected by it. Okay. I'm not sure if that was the... No, whatever, anyway. Reduce the health of the Pinnacle Factotums. Power. Oh, really? They reduced the health of the boss? Yeah, that will make it a lot easier. Jesus. Refabrication Committee. Why can't I pronounce that? I think this boss is a lot of trouble for many people. Reduce the damage of the melting point ability and the rate at which the damage increases. Reduce the damage of the fulminate and grasping limbs ability. Reduce the health of the summoned ruined factotums on veteran difficult. Increase the minimum range at which the reclaimer can summon ruined. Okay, that's cool. Assembly General reduce the rate. Seeker projectiles increase in damage. The bleed from earlier now has an appropriate icon. I don't know. I just know that the amount of people that can't even clear normal content is too goddamn high. So the game in general and veteran content is even worse. The game in general has like, because it's so fast paced, it has a way higher difficulty slider. There's so much shit that one-shots you. And especially in trials when you need 12 players and you need to coordinate stuff, it's kind of tricky. But even dungeons, there's like most players can't do normal dungeons. And that's not a joke. And that's a problem. So how do you expect people that already fairly normal to do well in veteran? I think it's just a teaching issue. The game just doesn't teach you enough things. That's why, like, what I would love to see is maybe a advanced trainer or something that teleports you into tutorials. So it's like, okay, this mechanic, I want to learn it. Then you get into a training room. Then you learn that shit, so you know, okay, I actually can block or dodge roll in the game. I can weapon swap in the game. Interesting. I didn't know that. So many people, it's fucking crazy. I don't know. Maybe, whatever. It's not. Anyway, let's move on. Just something. Teach people. Anyway. Black Rose Prison. The faster the flames. Okay. Interesting. Quests, dungeons, fixed. Get it. Combat and abilities. Updated block to be calculated more efficiently by the server. Similarly to sprint, sets and passives, the key of block or while blocking, while bracing now more accurately update as you transition between actively blocking and not. Overall, the core block behaviors are untouched between mechanics and cost. We will be monitoring the forums and other areas for feedback and bug reports, so please make sure to provide feedback on this change if you run into any strange behaviors or have questions. Activating block while animating an ability or attack will now blend the animation more fluidly instead of completely obfuscating, jeez, these words, the attack. The core mechanics to block cancelling remain untouched, but now display more of the previous attack's animation before your character animates the block. Yeah. I tested that with Endless Hail. It makes a really weird animation now. Like you can't immediately block anymore, but how the server like receives the information is the same. It's just differently displayed on your like client side apparently. So yeah, overall not really anything changed except you see it differently on the client side. Note the visual effect for blocking will still appear as soon as your block is officially activated, which has been untouched in terms of how long it takes to activate. There is a 0 stamina bug at the moment, I think. But they're already looking into it. Attack to reduce your stamina. Yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. Bash now properly cancels channeled abilities when you do not have a target to successfully bash. Okay. The following thorns or damage return base abilities now have a 7-meter range on their effect rather than infinite range. Spiked armor, living dark, okay. Okay, interesting. They do a lot of these things to help improve performance. And it's pissing me off a little bit in terms of like, they do these adjustments to abilities. So it's like less laggy, but it's like you're trying to search a needle in a haystack. Like, what's the point? These small changes are not going to fix the lag issues in Cyrodiil. Summon pets from player abilities such as Summon Unstoppable Family will now behave more consistently with other abilities when entering deep water. Okay. Fixing updated control and responsiveness of many charge and leap abilities so they reach fast-moving targets more reliably, as well as allow you to take action more fluidly after casting them. Yeah, so take flight, it takes way longer. I tested it in PTS. Kind of weird. Oh yeah. Oh, there. Off Balance will now properly update its size against the varying target dummies. They changed Off Balance. Off Balance now lasts 7 seconds from player sourced abilities and sets. Off Balance is no longer reapplied to a target for 15 seconds once the original source of Off Balance ends. This cooldown is displayed as a debuff on targets once they are affected. Off Balance is no longer consumed on targets from heavy attacks or abilities. So essentially, previously, if you did a heavy attack on off-balanced enemy, off-balance would go away because you consume it, and now it doesn't. So you basically have 7 seconds time. You could do 2 heavy attacks to regain like twice the amount on each heavy attack of resources. Very strong. Okay, now DK. Flame Lash, the special attack from this ability, Power Lash, can now also be cast on enemies that are immobilized. Okay. Seems to be an off... I don't think they adjusted the ability to account for off-balance stuff. I'm not sure what they're doing, but whatever. So Dragon Leap, yeah, that's the one that got changed a little bit. Protective Scale, not... This ability now grants damage mitigation to abilities more appropriately described in the tooltip. Okay. Helping Hands, this passive no longer triggers off stamina costing Earth and Heart abilities, namely being Stone Fist and Stone Giant. While the numbers previously balanced themselves out with the higher cost on Stone Fist, but the return of this passive, it made using the ability early or when low on resources overly penalizing. We have opted to simply reduce the cost to a normal amount and implement an exclusion, so it doesn't interact with this passive, resulting in less polarizing experiences with the ability. So, I hate Stone, it's fucking retarded ability. The problem here, it's like, if they would put this into the Ardent Flame, like Stonefist, they wouldn't have to make shitty exclusions for every single thing. Just move Stone Fist to Arm Flame and move like a sort of support ability to Orphan Heart, and voila. It's just gonna confuse the shit out of people. It's like, oh, okay, so this does this, but no, not to this skill because reasons. Just gonna confuse people. But yeah, overall, the skill has a cast time. It's just, it's not bad per se. It's a nice spammable to use. It's like it's the only spammable stamina spammable that the Dragon Knight has, so people are bound to use it, I guess, because they're looking for a spammable. But it's just the cast time, and I don't know. I don't like the ability. And it took them 3 patches to finish this skill. They started with just change it, like implementing the stagger mechanic. Then they changed the visuals, and now they changed the visuals even more and added a new effect. It's like it took them 3 patches to adjust one skill. Come on. Molten Weapons. Yeah, I'm salty about this skill because it's just, I don't know. Whatever. Molten Armaments. Fix an issue where the major brutality granted from this ability could fail to apply to group members in certain situations. Okay. Whatever. Shadow. That's Nightblade. Fix. That's it, okay. Wait, didn't they reduce AoE abilities on Nightblade? Or wait, Twisting already had a cheaper... They didn't increase the cost there, huh? I think. Yeah, okay. Zork. The Familiar is cheaper again, so we will have way less sustain issues. Ball of Lightning Splash reduced the cost. Yeah, so mostly AoE cost reduction, so you'll have better sustain, nice. And a few fixes. Spear Shards, same thing here. Nova, this ability and its morphs now have a negative telegraph, so you can properly tell if the heavens are being called down to protect you or smite you. I heard people say the telegraph is still not there, but it might just be a bug, so they will probably fix that. But yeah, it's nice. It was always kind of confusing. Sacred Ground. This passive no longer snares enemies in the rear. Instead, it increases your block mitigation by an additional 10% while standing in one of the mentioned abilities. Yeah. Okay. Just makes it more tanky, kinda. It's okay. As long, like, every time they remove snares, I'm happy. Green Balance. Fungal Growth, fixed. Yeah, fixed. More stuff. Nice. So Winter's Embrace. This here is interesting. Glacial Presence. This passive now also increases your critical damage against enemies and critical healing against allies who have been recently afflicted with the chilled status effect. So essentially, you could like make sure that chilled status is on the enemy. And if you're on like force pulls or anything that like does frost damage, that would be pretty easy to achieve. And I think it's a 10% critical damage and critical healing boost. So it's quite a bit. So quite a nice boost. Weapon. Whoa. Poison Arrow. So on my builds on the website, I removed poisoning injection on most abilities just to make the rotation easier, more front bar focus. You can still use poisoning injection. It doesn't really add any DPS. That's the problem. So yeah. Rapid Fire. Ballista. Yeah, fixed. Volley, they reduce the cost. Nice. Cost reduction in destruction stuff. Dual wield. Blade Cloak got reduced. Battlefield mobility. No, this passive now more accurately describes what it does. Okay. NSC. Panacea. Fixed an issue. Okay. Two-handed, fixed an issue, reduce the damage done by this ability and its morphs by 16% to better account for the fact that it also ignores mitigation. 16% is not too bad, and yeah, it's really strong. Heavy weapons fixed, uppercut, so this is swing, got changed again. This morph now stuns enemies who are already off balance. Enemies hit by this ability that are immune to off balance are now snared by 40% for 2 seconds. So this is swing, nobody really complained about it till they changed how Berserker Strike worked. Then everybody was like, this swing is fucking OP, and they keep changing it. First they removed the stun, now it's again like weird. This is gonna be annoying because like so many people use this swing. So if the enemy is immune to off balance, he will now be snared. And I'm not sure if this has a cooldown. So yeah, have fun. Like the situation of power lash, the changes to off balance greatly affected the power of this morph in 1-on-1 scenarios. While we're okay with the loss of a frequent stun on a spammable, we wanted to still ensure this morph didn't feel like it wasn't adding anything to your gameplay throughout the entirety of the fight. We have opted to add in a function that helps you become more sticky to your target when trying to use it multiple times. So basically when you spam it. Traditionally, we try and avoid CC without intense requirements on high damage abilities, but similar to puncturing strikes, cast time abilities are far harder to land at a frequent cadency. So we are more comfortable adding the snare here in addition to enabling a contextual stun with off balance. So when you do a heavy attack or a medium attack on off balance enemy, you stun the enemy, you knock him down, and it looks like they want you to do that. And if he's immune to off balance, you get the snare. Yeah, this is gonna be very annoying. Heavy armor, unstoppable. The cost reduction of CC Brave for this ability is now properly linked to the Mage Resolve it grants. There. Vampire. So Vampire rework is coming with the big chapter. So just as a heads up. Well, let's talk about that later, brother. The stun from this ability and its morphs now occurs when the cast completes rather than when it begins. Okay, so this is a change. Previously it's stunned immediately, I think. Werewolf. Fix. Shooting star, this ability will no longer grant ultimate for hitting corpses. But there used to be a bug where like there was corpses on the ground, it also gave you ulti back. So they fixed that. Such order is more accurate. Okay. Proc condition. Fix. Wallendrang, so they updated many of the damage and scaling modifiers of this data artifact to better match ability standards. Didn't they want to, or like, didn't they plan to implement more of these at some point? Haven't heard anything. Increase the damage of light attacks by, okay. Increase the damage, decrease the damage, decrease. Oh, that's the ultimate here, the last one. Yeah. There's still a few bugs with the weapon that haven't been fixed that makes it kind of weird. Like sometimes, usually there's a timer on it, but sometimes it bugs out. So people just run around with it forever till they rip. Stuff like that. I'm not sure if they have fixed it yet. But yeah, they still should change this a little bit. Anyway, let's move on. Updated many item sets that key off the act of actively holding block, dubbing, bracing. Use this terminology in their respective tooltips. This will prevent confusion, where they are not meant to work with abilities that allow you to block without needing to brace. Oh, okay. Fix. Okay, they changed quite a few sets. Affliction fix, heavy attack, armor. This set now, okay, armor of truth. This set now grants its bonus after dealing damage to an enemy who is off balance, rather than setting enemies off balance. The overall power of this set should be the same when used in fights against multiple opponents, but its total dueling power has been reduced to better meet its intended function of fighting outnumbered. So it's basically shit now. That's what they're saying. It's like there's just better alternatives. Because off balance has such a long cooldown now, and you can't proc it when off balance is on cooldown. So yeah, rip. Ashen Grip. Remove the 10% proc chance and increase the damage on activate to 5350. So that's a pretty juicy proc damage now. I mean, if you have more fire, you can also increase the fire damage, obviously. This is pretty cool. I like that they finally buffed it. Because they never increased the value by 10x or like multiplied by 10x when they changed from like the smaller number system to the big number system. They forgot this set, and yeah. After 3 years, it's here. Auroran's Thunder. Increase the damage per tick. Okay. Well, that's a small nerf, but still. Briarheart. So this is pretty juicy. This set no longer has a hidden 1 second cooldown on the heal, but the heal has been decreased to 378, down from 609. This looks like a nerf, but it's probably a buff. Especially in PvE, where builds usually have very high critical rating, weapon crit. This will constantly go off without the cooldown. If you have 2 free AoE abilities on the ground and maybe a dot or something, this heal will constantly proc like crazy. And on top of that, they also buffed the weapon damage by a whooping 1. Increase the proc chance to 25%, up from 10. So yeah, Briarheart, good before, even better now. Nice. Clever Alchemist, updated the in-combat check for this item set to be more accurate with what your client states. Increase the duration of the bonus to 20 seconds, up from 15. Increase the weapon damage and spell damage to 675, up from 661. So yeah, it was already really strong and it's got even better. So yeah, I use this on most, or like on a few PvP builds now. It's very strong. And 20 seconds is a long time. Curse Eater, increase the magic restore. Okay, this set now has an 8 second cooldown per target rather than overall. Okay. Seems strong though. Anyway, Dilemish, Beard set. Increase the damage down to 2507. What are these weird numbers? Oh, but the cooldown is reduced. Okay. This set looks pretty cool. It's like a laser beam, if I recall correctly. Dune Reaper Scales, increased amount of armor. This set grants to 531. I can't even recall what this does. Elfbane. Increase the duration bonus of this set to 5 seconds, off from 2. So this set is very powerful on a Magic and Dragon Knight. So if you have the set, you could potentially use it in PvE. Or PvP too. I would just not change too much in your gear setup and waste like gold materials and so on, because the chapter will bring a lot of changes with it and the meta will completely change most likely. Essence Thief, this set now procs of light or heavy attacks instead of only light attacks. This set now displays a beam of light visible to the wearer when the sigil spawns in and finalizes its location in order to help increase its visibility in visually noisy areas. It's impossible to find the room to get the buff, so maybe this will help. Eternal Hunt, Galerian's Revenge. Increase the damage down to... Yeah, it's still... I don't know. Iceheart is another big one, so... Reduce the damage shield. This set provides to 5k from 8600. Quite a big chunk. And reduce the damage per tick. It's still good. I tested it on the PTS after the nerf. And it's still good. It just doesn't carry as hard anymore as it used to. And once again, the reason why they nerfed it is because too many people basically used it to get through Maelstrom Arena or get like the really hard achievements in like the trials. So I don't know. On the other hand, like, I feel like, I mean, there's literally 2 or 3 endgame guilds left. Why do you bother balancing around them? But yeah, it's still good. First, what pissed me off more was they added a 12-second cooldown to it. They basically doubled the cooldown, and that was completely stupid. So they removed that again, so now it's just a smaller shield size. I can live with that, it's still good. Anyway, let's move on. Jolting Arms, slightly redesigned, is set to operate more efficiently on the server. Yes. All the lag issues will be fixed because of this. Resulting in a fix for the bash damage failing to apply properly in most cases, and tuning its numbers to be more appropriate for a set with its level of engagement. Molakina, reduce the cost increase penalty of this set to 8%. It's a good, like, you will get a lot of spell and weapon damage from this, so it's actually a good set. However, you have to do 2 light attacks in a row to proc it. So yeah, other monster sets are still better, most likely. And with the chapter, we will probably run only 1-piece monster set anyway, because you will want to run 5, 5, 1, 1. So 1 monster set, 1 mythic item piece. More cooldown, some fixes. Row of this Gaping Mage. This set no longer considers the first tick of each damage over time as direct damage. This set no longer requires critical strike to proc. Reduce the duration and cooldown to 5 seconds. So you can basically get almost 100% uptime now, and it procs on any attack. On direct damage attack. So this is a very good set now. If you have it, you could use it. Sheer Venom, increase the damage. Okay, interesting. Stormmaster. This is a really cool animation, but it never was really good. Increase the damage to 1600. I don't know. There's a lot of fixes and changes to sets. Jesus. Because this set now reduces enemy's spell and weapon damage by up to 20% for 5 seconds. Yeah. I don't know. Fix on. The ramping damage bonus to this set now has a maximum of 5 stacks to match its duration to prevent it from becoming wildly powerful when used in conjunction with duration extension bonuses like Elfbane. So it's like they buffed the Elfbane and they're like, oh shit, this is too strong now, so let's adjust this. I don't think it's the way to balance, but whatever. Battlegrounds. So this is probably the biggest change, the most controversial change. You can now only queue as a solo player in Battlegrounds. This is a big change to Battlegrounds matchmaking, which we are executing partially in response to player feedback and partially as an experiment. We recognize the change will prevent players from being able to reliably team up with friends in Battlegrounds, but it should also improve both speed of matchmaking and the competitiveness of PvP matches. As part of the change, we are resetting the matchmaking rating of all players, so going forward, the system more properly evaluates individuals based on their performance in the solo queue. We will be closely monitoring both player feedback and the impact of these changes on the situation. I think it's good that they're trying that out, because I want to see if it will speed up queuing times. That's the worst thing for me. Like when I have to wait 10, 15, 20 minutes to get into a match, I'm just gonna play another game. I can't be bothered to wait that long. So hopefully we'll see an increased, or like not an increase, like a decrease in time spent waiting. On top of that, it might match like players better, because no more these OP pre-made groups. Now, in the end, this shouldn't be the end goal. Like, I would like to have 2 separate queues, like a pre-made queue and a solo queue. Something like that. But I think they did that to test the system as an experiment, and they probably don't have the code to make 2 separate queues. So yeah. This is nice. Go try it out. It might take a while to get the MMR back up, depending on how good you are, but just keep that in mind. Other than that, I think that's more or less it. Dungeons, there's a few changes. Mentals, furnishing. And then, let's see, housing as it editor. Fix the common crash that will occur in Cyrodiil, yeah. They fixed the memory leak issue, if I recall correctly. There's some other bugs at the moment, but they probably should be able to fix them soon. Gamepad. So yeah, that's more or less it, I guess. So I would highly encourage people checking out Battlegrounds again this match to help gather data for source to see like if they see difference or like a change in MMR, queuing times and stuff like that. Because I want to know the results. And then if possible, I would like them to implement 2 different queues. The new dungeons are also great, go check them out. And let me know if you actually see a FPS increase or not in the comments below. That would be great. Because it's always interesting to see, for some people it works, for some it doesn't. Yeah, the re-downloading is annoying, but overall it should help. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section below. We also have a community Discord server. Yeah, and more videos will come throughout the patch. I'm still working on builds on the website, like I'm finishing up the solo builds. I still have to do the stamina versions. Then this section should more or less be finished too, so I can move on to other things. And Wöhler and I also have more stuff planned, but probably more in the future. Takes a while to get stuff done. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you soon. Cheers.